So picture this. You just got a 2% raise. Awesome, right? You see that bigger number on your pay stub and you feel like you're finally getting ahead. But here's the big question we're tackling. Does that bigger number really mean you have more spending power? Well, the answer might surprise you. It's a big maybe not.
And this, right here, is the perfect example of that paradox in action. Take a look at 2005. The average paycheck went up by 2.7%. Sounds pretty good. But inflation was at 3.4%, which means the cost of everything went up more than your pay, so you were actually falling behind. Now jump to 2015. The raise was smaller, only 2.1%, but inflation was almost zero. So even with a smaller raise, people were actually getting ahead. Their money went farther. Kind of crazy, right?
So how do we make sense of all this? Well, it all boils down to two key ideas. It's the battle between your nominal wage and your real wage. First up, we've got the nominal wage. This is the one you're probably most familiar with. It's that straightforward dollar amount printed on your paycheck. It's simple, it's clear, but it only tells you half the story.
And here's the other half, the one that really matters, your real wage. You can think of this as your true purchasing power. It's your nominal wage, but we've adjusted it for inflation. It tells you what you can actually go out and buy with your money. This is the number that shows if you're getting richer or just treading water. Let's make this super clear with a quick example. Let's say in year one, you make $20,000. In year two, you get that 2% raise we talked about, so your nominal wage climbs to $20,400. More dollars, but what if inflation is also 2%? That means the cost of gas, groceries, rent, everything also went up by 2%. So your real wage, when you account for that, is still exactly $20,000. You're running, but you're staying in the exact same place.
So this isn't just about you and your wallet. This whole idea of real wages is a massive deal for understanding huge economic trends. So let's zoom out and look at the bigger story, the history of pay.
For like most of human history, real wages were basically flat. You know, before the 1800s, anytime people got a little more productive, the population would just grow and eat up all the gains. But then, everything changed. The Industrial Revolution kicked off a whole new era. Technology just exploded, productivity went through the roof, and for the first time ever, real wages started to climb.
But that incredible run didn't last forever. In the last few decades, and especially after the financial crisis in 2008, that amazing upward trend kinda stopped. We've entered a new and much more worrying period on a global scale: real wage stagnation.
Just to put a number on it, by 2013, the average real wage growth for the entire planet was just 2%. Now, 2% might not sound like a total disaster, but wait, that number is hiding a lot.
And this chart really tells the story. Look at Asia. Real wages grew by more than 6%. That's huge. But then you look at the developed countries, the US, Western Europe, and growth was just 0.2%, basically zero. And other regions were also struggling, with growth under 1%.
The International Labor Organization, a pretty big deal, kind of summed it all up. They pointed out that what we're seeing is a fundamental shift. A smaller and smaller piece of the economic pie is going to workers' wages, while a bigger and bigger piece is going to capital, the owners of companies and assets.
So as you can imagine, this has kicked off a huge debate, especially in the United States. It gets right to the heart of a core economic idea. Shouldn't people get paid more when they become more productive?
So, has pay actually kept up with all this new productivity? Well, it really depends on who you ask. On one hand, you've got the Economic Policy Institute. They looked at the data and found this massive gap opening up. Productivity shot up by over 74%, but worker pay? It barely moved, up just over 9%. On the other hand, the Heritage Foundation looked at similar data and said, whoa, not so fast, finding that pay and productivity grew much more closely together.
So what gives? How can two groups look at the same economy and see such wildly different things? Well, the devil's in the details, as they say. It all comes down to how you measure things, like which inflation calculator you use, and what you even count as compensation. Do you include things like rising health insurance costs? How you answer those questions totally changes the final picture, and it just shows how complicated this whole issue really is.
But okay, no matter how you slice the data, it's clear that for a lot of people, wage growth has been, let's say, underwhelming. So that leads us to the next big question. Why? Why has pay stalled?
All right, so what's putting the brakes on our paychecks? In the US, experts point to a few big ideas. First, the steady decline of labor unions, which historically gave workers more power to bargain for better wages. Second, people just aren't switching jobs as much.
Things like non-compete agreements can lock you in place, making it harder to leave for a higher-paying gig. And third, the long, slow decline of the manufacturing industry, which used to be a huge source of well-paying jobs.
And hey, this isn't just an American story. The situation in Europe has been pretty intense too. Just look at the UK. Between 2007 and 2015, real wages there fell by a shocking 10.4%. To give you some perspective, that's the same level of decline that Greece saw during its massive debt crisis. It was a really tough time for workers' wallets.
A huge reason for this, especially over in Europe, is something called underemployment. Now, this isn't about being unemployed, it's about having a job but not getting nearly enough hours. Think about someone working part-time at a store who's desperate for a full-time schedule.
So look, if you take away just one thing from all of this, let it be this. That headline number on your paycheck, your nominal wage, doesn't tell the whole story. The true measure of your financial health, the number that really counts, is your real wage, what your money can actually buy you.
Understanding your real wage is absolutely crucial for your own financial picture, but it also leads us to what might be the biggest economic mystery of our time. We know that workers are more productive than ever before, and we know the overall economy is growing. So if that extra value isn't showing up in most people's real wages, it leaves us with one massive lingering question: where is all that money going?